Alright, today I am with Tim Bloom. My name is Rudy Delacuesta and I'm here to interview Tim. Tim, thank you for being with me today for the interview. I'm gonna start off with a simple question. Tell me a little bit about yourself. Where were you born? Where are you from?
I'm from Long Island, New York, and in 1987 I joined the delayed entry program, and in 1988, December 27th, went in the Marine Corps. Um, was in the Marine Corps for 9 years. After I got out of the Marine Corps in 1997, in December, I started working for the National Cemetery here in Salisbury, and I've been with them for 18 years, and it's a great job. It's like still being attached to the Marine Corps or the military,
Mm.
and we bury veterans and their family members.
So you told me you're in the Marines, you were in the Gulf War. So pretty much what were you doing before the Gulf War? You worked, what else?
Well, I went. It was 6 months after I graduated high school. What I did was I was a prep cook and I worked in a restaurant.
Mm-hmm.
And just was biding time till I went to Marine Corps. And I went to boot camp December 27th, 1988 at Parris Island, South Carolina. So pretty much I just was a high school kid. I would cut school, do as little as I could because I just did not want to go to school. So I got a job at a restaurant and went to rock concerts and midnight shows, come in 4 in the morning, mom, dad be pissed off, and then I went to boot camp.
Sounds like a lot of high schoolers.
Yeah, yeah, for sure.
Alright. When you went to the military, did you, after your basic training, did you go straight to the war, or was it? Tell me about like the gap between.
Yeah, the gap was I went to boot camp and I graduated March 21st, 1989, and I came home for a month. I helped out my recruiter for about 30 days, and then I got orders to go to Naval Air Station Millington, Memphis, Tennessee, because the Marine Corps would use the Navy's schools, because the Marine Corps is part of the Navy.
Mm.
And we would, I went to Crash Fire Rescue School, and I was there for a good bit of 1989, and then I got permanent orders for my permanent duty stations at Jacksonville and Marine Corps Air Station New River. So I joined them, and being a new guy, you always got shitty jobs, stuff like that, and being that I was new, that's when Saddam Hussein was masquerading and doing all his stuff. So I was actually taken with another guy from my unit and sent to Bogue Field. They were called MWSS 271. I was sent to that unit because I was the new guy, and that's who I deployed to Saudi Arabia with in January of 1991.
Is that when you first got involved
Mhm.
into the Cold War?
So from Memphis training till I went there, I did crash fire rescue at New River.
Well, the cats in the video. Alright, how did the experiences you had during the Cold War, how would you say they affected your life?
Well, it's the Gulf War.
The Gulf War, I'm sorry.
I'm not old enough to be in Cold War. Hell. When you're over there, when you first go over there, you don't know what to expect, and there's a lot of prep work. You're setting things up, you're getting ready to do what you have to do, but there's really little information coming back to you, like we never knew exactly what was going on. You guys here saw more on CNN than we ever knew.
Really?
And they didn't feed us information down. We were just told, do your jobs.
Was that like lack of access to stuff, or?
No,
Or just-
we hadn't been at war since what? Vietnam.
Mm-hmm.
So we went from a jungle to a desert. Well, I don't think they really knew how we were going to approach fighting in the desert
Yeah.
and setting up. So there was a lot of prep work, build up, set up. And once we set up, that's when we started doing flight operations at the airfield. That's when we started doing forward arming and refueling points, where you would set up in the desert, you would pick up and move. The next week you're in another location, and on, I believe it was January 16th is when they told us the air war started.
Mm.
So once you started doing that, you realized this wasn't a game anymore. So as time went on, doing forward arming, refueling points, going to crashes, hearing reports on a little transistor radio hanging off a hook in our tent. We actually listened to the Super Bowl on that little radio.
That was
And
it.
that's the year the Giants won.
Of course.
The Giants won. But after seeing and being exposed to all those things, it makes life really easy. It makes you prioritize. It makes you care about the people who are closest to you, and you can't really worry about everything. You know, one example is if bill collectors are riding my neck. Okay, well, you're getting your money when you get it. You know, I mean, what are you going to do? Send me to Kuwait with a rifle? I've already done that.
Right.
So it makes life easy to deal with.
Alright. What are some life lessons you learned from the Gulf War?
Life lessons learned is it makes you appreciate and love your family and friends, and it makes you appreciate the time you spend with people more so than materialistic objects. I don't have to keep up with the Joneses. The Joneses have to keep up with me. Alright, I'm happy going to work, coming home, being with my family, my wife, my kids, go out, do some fishing. What are major problems to civilians are easy to deal with after going to war. I mean, we never knew when we were coming back. We constantly were eating MREs, meals ready to eat, constantly just sitting there. We would make calendars and just scratch off days and write down what happened that day or anything like that. But it makes life easy. It really does.
So, what message would you leave for future generations who never really got? I mean, 'cause our generation, no one will ever be able to experience the Gulf War. But we can read about it from books, but as from someone like you that actually experienced it, what would you leave for future generations?
Well, if you join the military, you join the military to do a job to defend your country. And it's probably one of the biggest honors you can have is actually to go to war if you're in the military. But it's also one of the best times. It's also the worst time of your life to see all this crap. If you join the military, go all in, know what you're there for, do your job, and pass it on later.
Mhm.
If you don't pass it on, people can't learn from it. So, I don't know, just be all in.
Give it 100%.
Give it 100%. If you're in the military, you're there for a reason. You're not there to pretend you're gonna go to war. So,
Alright, let's see. How did the Marines, or the Gulf War, change your perspective on life?
well, whenever you're faced with a difficult situation, you compare it to situations you were in when you were over there, and it puts everything in perspective. Okay, uh, my wife, who's my ex-wife, just told me she's pregnant. We ain't got the finances. Deal with it. It stresses you out, but yet no one's shooting at you.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? So you prioritize and you deal with, and in the end you can't get water from a rock. So dealing with problems is pretty easy, because when you think about it, someone has it worse off than you. Someone in Iraq, Afghanistan, they're scared, they're away from home, they don't know how to deal with the shit they're dealing with. So, you know, life is actually easier after you go to war and you come back. And it makes you scratch your head and think about why civilians freak out over such simple things, when there's always somebody who has it worse off than you.
What keeps you from, like you said, like you said, you're not getting shot at. And before the interview, we were talking about how you just snapped on a dude about him complaining about service. What keeps you from? Because you hear this stuff every day. You hear people complain every day about simple things that to you it's nothing. What keeps you from snapping on everybody?
Can't say I haven't snapped on everybody. I haven't snapped on everybody. I ain't snapped on you yet. But I've actually gotten into a lot of fights post-military. I've busted a lot of dudes up talking shit about the Marine Corps, the military. You think you're better than us, and you go into offensive mode. And I've busted dudes up on the lake when they've talked trash, when they've been disrespectful. I've been at bars where people have talked trash and we just take it outside and then I smash them. And you know, but all that stuff is part of, like, it's not right, but it's, I guess they're calling it post-traumatic stress disorder. You know, you might not want to fight if someone talks shit to you, but if somebody talks shit to me and is disrespectful to the people I'm with, then I got a problem with it.
What's the one thing that if you go into the civilian world, what's the one thing someone can say, or, for example, one thing they say that disrespects the Marines, or what's the one thing that someone can say that there's no, I'm gonna keep it in, I gotta say something.
Oh, you think you're a big war veteran? I don't think I'm a big fucking war veteran. I'm sitting here quiet. You're the one talking shit, acting ass. Next thing you know, or if they're disrespectful to my family or my kids, that's it. You know, I don't think I'm better than anybody. I volunteered. It wasn't my fault that your mom didn't sign the permission slip to join the military. I did it. I went through it, and what are you gonna do? I mean, if someone's shitty or disrespectful, if someone cuts me off, I let them know it. They cut me off. You know, if someone's cross or out of line, I'll check them. You know, you have no fear after going through a war. You don't. You have no fear.
Not scared of
Nope.
anything.
Nope. I have no problems with cops. I've told cops to kiss my ass when they were talking trash to me. State troopers, you name it. I actually have a problem with authority at this point in my life.
Oh, man.
Because I had authority all over me when I was in the Marine Corps for 9 years. And being in the Marines, it's a hard life, it's a shitty life, and you don't respect it until you get out. And you mature, you grow older, you've gone through speed bumps in your life, and then you look back and you're like, you know what? I did something that damn near. Oh, I mean, only 3 people I graduated with joined the military. So that tells me the other 797 didn't have what it took to stand up for their country.
Of everything that you went through in the Gulf War, if you could go back to one particular situation you were involved in and redo it all over again, what would the situation be, and what would you do different?
I would say biggest thing, the most important thing I would change was when I told my parents to stop writing me, I didn't care about them. And the reason I did that was because after we first went there, you did the prep work, it was just like working a job, but then when shit started happening, when we started taking small arms fire now and again while we were at Kuwait International Airport, when we had sporadic grenadings, you couldn't leave the roadways that were cleared by EOD, explosive ordnance disposal, because there were landmines everywhere. It was real. Your life was real. You can get blown the hell up. You can, if you make a mistake, you don't listen, you don't follow. It's a bad situation, so you were on edge. When the Frog 7 missile hit the West Senegalese camp 2 miles away, it leveled our tents while we were sleeping. You start to think, this sucks, you know. And when your family writes you, they're trying to do the right thing. They're trying to make you feel better. But when you start going through badness, that's when, if you're distracted, at that point you have to worry about yourselves. And day after day after day. So my parents used to write me, they'd tell me everything they were doing every day, and I'd sit there, read the letters, and then I got to a point where I actually wrote my parents and told them, stop writing me. You know what, leave me the hell alone. I don't have time to deal with y'all. So my mom had a nervous breakdown after I sent that letter, and I was my mom and dad's biggest hero. You know, I was the middle of 3 kids. My younger sister is a doctor. My older brother is a teacher, and I joined the Marine Corps. I was always the troublemaker, and I was their biggest hero. I wish I would have never told them to stop writing me.